Well, hello there, everybody. A little Stevie Ray Vaughan. I'll tell you, I love my Stevie. I got a chance to see him when I was down in Austin, Texas. And yeah, so welcome, everybody. It's Friday. How are y'all doing? Speaking favor over us all. Nothing missing, nothing broken. And we speak that not just as you know, yeah, we do it by rote. Man, we mean it. We nothing missing, nothing broken. Yeah. How can anyone be against that? Could you imagine? I'm sure there may be someone out there like, I don't want that. You don't want nothing missing, nothing. No, I like it all a mess. Okay. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of this. It's going to be a good show. We're going to get into some serious, serious stuff. And because there's serious, serious stuff happening right here in my country here in the United States. um Things are just, they're getting ratcheted up. It's like we know it's, you can see it. It's, I was thinking before I actually came on, that it's like sowing a seedling of a giant sequoia, and you will most likely never see when that sequoia begins to hit maturity. I mean, they're a long-lived species, thousands of years. The point is that if you can recognize what the seed is designed to do, the result should come forth. It's just, the law of natural nature. And things have been building up, and we just got to speak peace. You know, those good folks down in Texas. I lived there. And um, yeah, this is an interesting time we live in. You find out test of will. This is what it really is, a test of wills. And again, no matter what side you take, it invokes, deep emotion. And deep emotion is nectar, it's ambrosia to the gods. Yeah. Whether it be positive, whether it be negative, they dig it. It's like, oh yeah. I mean, there are some foods, like I like blue cheese. I really do. It's, love the pungent of the taste and what have you. And that to me is a delicacy. But I don't like Limburger cheese. The point being, it's cheese. It's, a question of whether it's negative or positive. I do believe that in the end, it is us. But having said that, I can't be closed-minded and say, well, that just settles it right there and walk away. No, I was of that mindset for 50 years. Man, we all know about that. So, um, this group is an enlightened group, and here's the paradox. And I know that Prater Nathan Setnek, I know he listens. As many of you in the chat room, hello, how are you? Hey, Nina, how are you, darling? Dave Sullivan, what's up? And John and Chloe. Speaking of Chloe, Chloe, I'm going to show this because, hey, look who's also in. Lauren, Ginger, how are you, darling? Are you back in the US? So, Rick says, I like blue cheese. Hate goat cheese. See what I'm talking about? So, y'all are just some of the most generous, loving people. Chloe sent to my wife um, some just beautiful crystals. I'm going to show everybody. So, this is, I believe, is that Afrofolite with peach steelbite. Beautiful. What you? Hey, go all the way from Croatia. What's up, brother? Good to see you. And this one is green quartz. This is a powerful crystal, Chloe. Back home. Okay, way to go. Hey, Gaia, how's you and Paul? So this is green quartz. I mean, this is a wealth quartz, Chloe. When Lynn unwrapped it, and Chloe, these were early birthday gifts to Lynn. It's immediately what she said. This is so thank you. And then Chloe goes and sends me this. And now this will go into the Steiger Hall of Fame. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful crystal. Thank you, darling. And yeah, thank you. So, getting back to where we stand in the current affairs. Now, my paradigm and paradox, I should really say, is that I don't really believe that there is a physical place called hell. I mean, no matter what the modern theology is, no matter what position, it plays a intricate role in our reality, our culture. And I'm at the point where I don't think it really matters what I believe, whether it does or it does not. There is enough others who do. And I cannot deny, for what I have known from just the gnosis of the occult. Cheers, everyone. Words manifest. Beliefs become an integral patchwork or an integral part of the fabric of reality itself, whether it's in this realm or others. And I personally believe that most of this is man-made. I believe that we are, in fact, gods. At the very least, we are lords. And there appears to be something fantastic that goes beyond our tactile senses. So, does hell going to play a role in my life? In what way? If truth is truth, then that alone stands to inoculate me against any other foreign belief. It is my belief. And when I ascend, I will be ascending into that which I believe. I happen to believe that most people have no idea what they believe. The ambiguity of what their thought process becomes in what they express to be their beliefs, again, they don't. And so the inevitable comes for us all. And if there is, in fact, life after this, then it tells me that then there must be something here. I've experienced the unseen. Therefore, I can only deduct from that that it must be connected to something. So, having said that, when you look at magic, magic plays everything. And it appears that within magic, there is this kingdom. And this kingdom is complex. It has layers to it, hierarchies, and it just seems to be the duality of its existence. One side can't exist without the other. So there is this ongoing evolution is the only thing I can say. I mean, if evolution doesn't play a role in the afterlife, in the eventual consciousness of an individual or group, then it means stagnation. And if it's stagnation, then this is death. Oh, that's right. This is death. But we don't perceive death to exist in when after we're dead. Because then we become a part of that which we don't understand. Are you a spirit? Are you a soul? Are you a consciousness? Do you have individuality? How are you going to fit in? What is going to be your role? What is your anticipation? How does that work in with the current construct? And that current construct has been primarily one-sided. And that is, you have this opponent who says that it's right, that everything done against it, it's not its fault, it's because the others are wrong. Now, if you're properly indoctrinated, you're going to be thoroughly convinced that this one side of this story is the absolute truth. There is no other truth beyond it. It is the highest form of reality. What that defines truth. The problem is with reality. Which reality? What reality? Who made that reality? How did that reality come about? Define what that reality is really about. Very difficult. And so there appears to be a knowledge that has existed way before I came into this body at this particular time, that there is these roles of defined beings. Now, as you get more into the study of these demons and the angels are pretty wicked too. I mean, that's the false perception here, is that, well, the angels can do no wrong. Wrong. They kill humans. And they kill humans without any regret. To me, that's a problem. Because if they can do that, now, mind you, these are stories of renown. They're from books that none of us have ever seen an original of, but we were told and taught that this was in fact happened. And so once you become convinced of that and your faith becomes ingrained into that, then the story becomes real. There is in fact this thing of an angel called, not only an angel, an archangel named Gabriel that slays babies without a second thought. It was commanded to do so, and it did so. And, history is replete with these stories. And then the interesting thing happened right about, when, whether you're a point of view or not, I think there's been 1,000 years added, but whatever time we're in, there was a time when there was this birth or rebirth, resurrection of a knowledge. And these men and women who wrote these stories and began to build these characters actually caused them to become real. That's the problem, cause and effect. We did a whole thing on a project of creating our own gift, our egregore. Still exists. If you give mindful to it, it'll dig it, smile on you. But nevertheless, these egregores that were created back in the 11th century, you know, wow, took on a whole new life, a whole new structure. And what I'm trying to say, it really doesn't matter whether I believe this or not, it is real. And I'll put another warning out because we're going to get into it right now. This is stuff not to be messed around with. Now, I think every person should have a well-rounded understanding and knowledge of all things. If you believe in one side, challenge your reality, challenge your beliefs. It's when you start becoming old, is when you stop challenging your reality, your beliefs. Because the minute you become set into it, what's there to live for then? Anyway, so when we study about these beings, whether they existed before, which if you follow the narrative, they did way before we came along. So, but yet somehow we're above them. Yet few humans can display the control, the power of these beings, and particularly being endued with power from upon high, where you become almost supernatural, whether it's in your psychic ability, whether it's in your natural abilities within themselves. There seems to be a quid pro quo of enhanced ability. The idea yesterday, to finish it out on sacrifice, I don't have a problem if you want to offer fruit, you want to offer some sort of offering to that spirit. I think that's kind of just for me, it's like if I was going to be visiting your house and I knew you happened to like good wine, I would bring a bottle of a good cab or Merlot, and as a gift, as an offering. In fact, that's what we do in our culture is a housewarming. It's a house blessing. And we bless it with the good spirits and we cast out the dark ones. It's ingrained into our culture. So the warning is don't don't invoke these beings unless, again, as the manuals are saying, you have a you have a focused purpose and you've thought this thing out. Everything has consequences to it. Everything. It does. You know, in my supernatural studies of the Holy Spirit, um, the only sin that is unpardonable is the sin against the Holy Spirit. Now, I don't know what that means specifically. Um, I remember Kenneth Hagin saying that he met one woman in a prayer line that was seeking prayer. And when he went up and laid hands on her, he says the Holy Spirit spoke to him and said, "Take your hands off of her." And, the story goes, as he's telling it, he did. And the Holy Spirit, as he said, spoke to him and said, "She has committed the unpardonable sin. She blasphemed against me." And the story goes that the woman was one time a wife of a pastor and left the pastor and the family and, got into, the whole, there was a whole scene she got involved with. And apparently, there was ample opportunity for her to return. And the story goes she did. Now, quite frankly, I don't know if I believe that. But nevertheless, if you're into that belief system, you do believe that. You don't go back. I mean, I have been told so many times, about Second Peter. But let me just say this. To profane the blood of Christ, you're going to have to explain to me what that blood exactly is. Now, I know about the propitiation of sin. I know that. But yet you got problems with the whole thing when you start peeling back the curtains. So anyway, let's get in onto the study. Again, I just caution, don't invoke these rituals, these beings, unless you're prepared to face them. And then people always go, they won't manifest. All right. Sure. Go on. See how that works out. All right. So let's get into this. I want to talk about Theurgy. It's interesting of what it's the highest form of magic. It's a high magic. And it's interesting when we talk about magic because magic is directly associated with angels, demons, spirits, conjuring, invoking, binding, loosing. Bible's replete with it. It's everywhere. And so I'll be going through a number of books because we're actually going to get into the Lesser Key of Solomon, where all of this is focused in on. And in this little thing, it talks about high medieval rise of learned magic. It says, well before the 12th century rise of a learned magic, there were kinds of magic that required formal learning, at the very least, insofar as they were transmitted through written materials, and so required the library of their practitioners. Consideration of them offers helpful background to the high medieval watershed. And it was during this medieval period that so much of what we have today was actually created, which tells me that there was something going on. It's kind of like, we had rock and roll. Well, these guys got wisdom, knowledge of something we take for granted today. It says consideration of them, it offers helpful background to the high medieval watershed. The origins of medieval magic are to be found in the intersecting magical imaginations of Greek, Roman, and barbarian societies in the first millennium CE as Mediterranean and Northern European societies appropriated Christianity. So it's interesting to me because it's very clear that there's this exchange. Now, how is the exchange being done? Is it done peacefully or forcefully? Well, with Christianity, it was the sword. This grand process of European enculturation, I love that, yielded a Salagundy of magical beliefs and practices, whose aims included healing, divining, protecting, cursing, and harming. Richard Keckelfer has influential Christian the results, the common tradition became because they can be found across wide swaths of medieval society. The principal mode of transmitting the common tradition was oral, even though written traces can be found throughout the early medieval period. So it was passed down from one practitioner to the other. The expansion of the manuscript and then the printing culture that defined learned culture in the latter Middle Ages led to the even wider dissemination of the common tradition. This medieval transmission allowed practitioners to be much more than a specifically trained subset of medieval society, and to include just as easily the monk, whose access to the literature of magic was relatively easy, as the lavender, whose was not. So the point here is that this has been around. It's just the commoners were not allowed to know it. And I don't care how you look at history, and if you look at how Europe developed, and at the same time here in North America, there was this culture that was dying out, the giants. This is where the Nephilim retreated to, and we have countless other native humans that were here long before the white man brought his devil religion. Yeah, I love how I said that. So anyway, hearsay passed on, and then the written word. And I find it interesting in the aspect that the very printing press that brought the Bible and the term Jesus into the matrix was designed primarily for grimoires, secret knowledge. Only the very rich and powerful could afford a book. It was a laborious job to set the printing presses. So anyway, this is again, I think this is Isabel's book. I believe it is. Yeah. Now we're going to be talking about demons, and I'm moving along here because I know I can get distracted. All right, for those new to magic, and even those who may have been working with it for many years, the existence of demons is an intriguing puzzle. What are demons, and why do they exist? My glib answer is that it doesn't matter, so long as you work with them to obtain results. After several decades of trying to convey the value of this revelation, I have found that it never satisfies. I will indulge your curiosity into the nature of demons, but only briefly, so that you perhaps get some idea of what it is you are working with. If you are to work with demons, you wish to know what they are, and you may have beliefs based on religion, legends, and most likely the horrors of cinema. You may believe that demons are evil monsters, almost out of control, hideous, ugly at best, terrifying at worst, and sent from hell to tempt and to torment. Although defining demons is not so easy task, I can assure you that when using the methods in this book, you will use evocation keys to ensure that the demons are seen in a fair form and without any risk of personal havoc. Although you may ask them to commit acts that others see as sinful, you will not sense even the smallest whiff of evil. What you will sense is power. Demons display their power to us more readily than angels. Some would say that it is because they are more base, closer to our material world. It could be that demons are trapped in their own egotistical worlds and thus ready to display their power as an act of bravado. This may be the case, but when you sense that power, know it can be harnessed and expressed in your life. Access to power is more important than any theory about its origin. And the question still remains unanswered. And if you were to ask an experienced occultist exactly what a demon is, you might be met with a blank stare. This is not because there's no answer, but because the answer will either be inexact or will take several days to relate. For the simplest explanation, you could read about the demons that were called and controlled by King Solomon, as surmised in the Testament of Solomon, and I've got that book, by the way. It could be added that the techniques for calling demons, along with list of demons, were described in many texts that appeared in manuscript form and print somewhere around the 14th century. Following on from there, the texts were expanded, contracted, and rewritten, with much material being lost, changed, and distorted along the way, until we ended up with the Lemegeton in the 18th century, which generally led to S.L. McGregor's Matthew's work, and it was edited with curious unrelated additions and withdrawn seals by Aleister Crowley, and published in 1904 as the Gnosis, the Lesser Keys of Solomon the King. This version have influenced most of what followed for the next century, with the irony being that Crowley's edition were taken by many to be the most authentic aspects of the Goetia. By the 21st century, wiser occultists have done their own research and found Crowley to be lacking. And thankfully, this became more widely accepted in 2001 due to the publication of Joseph Peterson's The Lesser Key of Solomon, an academic work that, while limited, corrected many mistakes and misperceptions. And it is this book right here. Again, it's one that I use all the time. So, yeah, I spent a long time learning about the angels, right? All right, so let's continue. So, talking about Theurgy, it is a high magic or high society. It is the development of the self in light and aimed at bettering one's being on numerous levels. Light may refer to the perception of being, as Lucifer, who is the Lord of the Sun and the Emerald Crown initiator of magic. Theurgy would be the path of invoking the genius or guardian angel of the self. This operation has been dealt with in length in the works of Aberlin, Aleister Crowley's Liebereth, Shemek, and equally brilliant writings by Jake Stratton Kent and Charles Gonzalez, the preliminary invocation, as it was published in Crowley's 1904 edition, which was then developed from the London Papyrus 46, being a Greek exorcism rite, which was translated by Charles Wycliffe Goodwin and published in 1852. It was indeed Aleister Crowley who asserted correctly, so that the supreme ritual was the one to invoke the holy guardian angel, as this led to the path of individual perfection. This is a common ground of which the left-hand path and the right-hand path practitioners may agree. The paths become clearly defined when the right-hand path seeks to reach spiritual perfection, then letting the consciousness be joined in union with the divine light, or the Hebrew Ein Sof, which is limitless light. The left-hand practitioner views consciousness and being as beautiful, sacred, and worth developing and strengthening. The consciousness from the unveiling of one's true will, or daemon, angel, would seek to further become like Lucifer and be independent, isolate, and separate from the Ein Sof, or limitless light. One should remember it is the limitless light from which Azazel, Lucifer, sought to be independent from. Wow. He goes on to say, because we're going to get into a couple of these books so you can get an idea. We'll be coming back to this. And yeah, this is what we do. So when we talk about the, excuse me, is it this one? There we go. So this is how the book, it was printed. I'll bring this up. So this is the Lesser Key of Solomon, the Goetia, the Book of Evil Spirits. It contains 200 diagrams and seals for invocation and convocation of spirits, necromancy, witchcraft, and black art. You know, just having a book like this in a time of a society would probably have gotten you burned at the stake. So this is Ceremonial Magick, only authorized edition, Extract Publishing under Dr. L.W. de Lawrence. And we've looked at his books in the past. When you understand how the planets and these angels work, it's interesting. But we are well familiar with these. I did in fact, I looked at, got it pulled up if I needed to reference it. But back in 2018 is when I did an extensive study on this, and we shared this with everybody at that time. Little did I know how much it would come about today. So let's just get a little peek of this and see what it has to say. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bore you with, you know, everything on this, but this gives you the background of the work, how it came about, and there is a lot to this. This is an academic work, which is far different than what I would say a layman's work is. Um, and what I mean by academic means that there are review boards by, your peers and et cetera, et cetera. All right, so let's get into this. It's pretty cool. So this is the preliminary invocation. All right. And I do this with respect. This is merely for the Gnostic of knowledge to be brought forth. And I give thanks to these beings for their understanding and favor. Hey, listen, if you go into a foreign country, you best better know how to act, right? So it says, Thee I invoke, the bornless one, thee that didst create the earth and the heavens, thee that didst create the night and the day, thee that didst create the darkness and the light. Thou art Osiris. Oh, I think I said it right. Whom no man has seen at any time. Thou art Jabus. Thou art Japos. Thou hast distinguished between the just and the unjust. Thou didst make the female and the male. Interesting, isn't it, in that one? You read it through the monotheistic translation, it's the other way around. Thou didst produce the seed and the fruit. Thou didst form men to love one another and to hate one another. I am Moshe, the prophet, unto whom thou didst commit thy mysteries and ceremonies of Israel. Thou didst produce the moist and the dry, and that which nourisheth all created life. Hear thou me, for I am the angel of Thafro Osophoranes. And I got that one wrong. I know it. I had it nailed earlier. This is thy true name handed down to the prophets of Israel. Hear me, R, Thio, Rehabet, Ath, Laperthseth, Balith, Abu, Ibu, Phi, Tatusu, and Thio. Hear me and make all spirits subject to me, so that every spirit of the firmament and of the ether upon the earth and under the earth, on dry land and in the water, of whirling air and of rushing fire, and every spell and scourge of God may be obedient to me. That's powerful. We got to break that down a little bit. I mean, so this to me is a pretty powerful invocation. And I obviously did not pronounce these words correctly in all their way. It would be advisable that if you're going to be doing this in a invocation ritual, that learn to speak the names. They're tolerant, right? Like, hey man, I'm just here to learn. So I like this. So hear me. I mean, that's a command, and make all spirits subject to me. Wow. So that every spirit of the firmament, that's the heavens, and the ether, the spirit realm, upon the earth and under the earth, on dry land and in the water, of the whirling air, tornado it sounds like, and the rushing fire, and every spell and scourge of God may be obedient to me. That's a lot of power. I don't know about you. I don't know too many humans that could actually handle this. That's just my personal commentary. Because wow, you would have to be disciplined mentally. You'd have to be a master of your emotions, because this kind of power in the hands of a fool would be detrimental to the fool. I don't know where that came from. Jenny, I saw the tarot card when I said that. It was interesting. It says, let's continue on. I invoke thee, the terrible and invisible God, who dwelleth in the void place of the spirit. All right, let's do this. Rogorobarab, the soth thou, the modero, the Phalothrora, the dew, and the boneless one, hear me. Well, it sounds like, again, I don't know who this God is. For me, I mean, is this the Hebrew God? Huh? Is this the Christian God? But anyway, it is a God. I can respect that. It's like there are many gods. This one appears to be higher in the hierarchy, but because it's with a capital G, it's not capitalized all the way through, though. So it is a lesser god, but it is no less a god. Sure. And then it goes on with the other names. Again, if you want to do this, there are places you can actually get these names, hear them, and then remember them. One of the things I might suggest is that when you write these names and you put it in there and it's pronounced, have your tape recorder, your digital recorder. Makes it easier. All right. So it says, hear me. Then the next one is, I invoke thee. Hear me again. This is the Lord of the gods. This is the Lord of the universe. Structure here, folks. It's exactly what I'm drawn to. We're talking a hierarchy. We're talking a society. This is, as I said yesterday, you've got to learn to start. If you're a god, you need to start thinking like a god. If you want to invoke demons, you need to start thinking like them. Angels, the same way. How do we do that? Well, we learn that there is this structure on the other side, and that if we apply our thinking, our words accordingly, you're going to get some phenomenal results. So this is all these gods that they're being invoked, all these names. This is the Lord of the gods. This is the Lord of the universe. This is he whom the winds fear. This is he who, having made voice by his commandment, is Lord of all. And again, it's capital L, but small letters after that, of all things, king, ruler, and helper. Hear me, etc. Hear me. Oh, look at that. Ew. Interesting. I love these names. I'm just going to have to get them right. Not speaking them, and that's probably a good thing. Goes on to say, I am he, the bornless spirit, having sight in the feet, strong, and the immortal fire. Tells me a little bit about this. So this is a bornless spirit. We are a born spirit, a clear delineation. And I sense within myself that that is going to be reflected in the ether. We are of a unique class of spirits. So there are obviously those of which daemons, angels, would be in the bornless class of spirit. And you should understand, being a spirit that has been born, I mean, there's an honor to that. They never have. All right. I am he, the truth. I am he who hate that evil should be wrought in the world. I am he that liveth and thundereth, lightneth, and thundereth. I am he from whom is the shower of the life of earth. I am he whose mouth ever flames. Wow. Sound like a dragon to me. I am he, the begetter and the manifester unto the light. I am he, the grace of the world. And grace, as we know, is a synonym for favor. A pretty powerful being, I would say, right? Says that he goes with the masculine personification, says that he hates that evil should be wrought in the world. We have to define evil. I am he that is lightning and thunder. Well, sounds like Lucifer to me. I am he from whom is the shower, the shower of the life of earth. I am he whose mouth ever flames. I am he, the begetter and the manifester of light. Wow, that's just deep stuff, man. I mean, my head's going like, I mean, I've read this a number of times, but every time, the heart girth with a serpent is my name. Sound like Lucifer to me. Come, and by the way, Lucifer, we love you. I mean, come on. I think he's male or female. I think he's female. She is female. Either way, that would be the one person I want to sit down and probably have a lunch with, get into a good discussion. So anyway, come thou forth and follow me, and make all spirits subject unto me, so that every spirit of the firmament and of the earth, of the ether, upon the earth, under the earth, on dry land, or in the water, of whirling air, or of rushing fire, and every spell and scourge of God may be obedient unto me. Io Sabeo. Such are the worlds. Oh, excuse me. Such are the words. Powerful stuff. Well, that certainly is that's an invocation, no doubt. Even reading it, you get this thing that it's like there's certain things being spoken, and we talked about opening portals. I have a sense we may not have opened the I don't know, maybe to lesser degrees. I don't know. This is the Goetia, the lesser key of Solomon, the initiated interpretation of ceremonial magic. It is lawfully amusing to the student of magical literature who is not quite a fool, and rare is such a combination, to note the criticism directed by the Philistines against the citadel of his science. Truly, since our childhood has ingrained into us not only literal belief in the Bible, but also substantial belief in Afleia, Walea. And only adolescence can cure us. We are only too liable in the rush and energy of dawning manhood to overturn roughly and rashly both these classics, to regard them both on the same level as interesting documents from the standpoint of folklore and anthropology, and as nothing more. Even when we learned that the Bible, by profound and minute study of the text, may be forced to yield up kabbalistic arcana of cosmic scope and importance, we are too often slow to apply a similar restorative to the companion volume, even if we are the luck holders of Burton's veritable edition. So I want to make sure want to go back over here. I just love this stuff. So again, the same invocation. And again, the words there, I'm trying to go over to when there is so much that you have to go through to get to this stuff. All right. So when we talk about this is so often classified in black magic. I don't know. I like black. Black goes with everything. You can wear black all the time. You can only wear white from, Memorial Day to Labor Day. Just saying. Uh, all right. Really, what we're talking about is a work of self here. It's your vision, your interpretation, your inner view of yourself and how you relate to this, whether you believe it or whether you not, whether you find it interesting or that if you don't find it interesting, you're probably not listening. But for myself, I had overcome decades of programming. There was so much fear within me, and particularly dealing with the subject of demons. I mean, I was, that generation who saw The Exorcist for the first time, and that has a fucking mental trauma in your mind. You're going, well, why would I ever deal with a demon that do that? And the fact is, you could really say it was a propaganda film because it thoroughly entrenched the mind worm that still is screwing us today. That's all I got to say. I mean, I don't know. I think there should be a debate as to whether we could say, has religion really benefited man? It's a question I think is debatable. So, black magician. Well, that would imply that there would be a white magician, right? And if white magicians are in fact implying that there's a black, then it tells me that the craft, the art, is one and the same. But I thought it would be important to close this out because we'll continue on this. The black magician is therefore one who works on the self, building and defining the character of I or being. The sorcerer is thus one who encircles energy and the spirits of the dead and the subconsciousness around the self to strengthen and explore the avenues of a strong and open mind. The black magician also understands the respect which is necessary with working with exterior forces, which often relate in an interior context. This is the key to the goetic sorcery path, which is for this reason considered dangerous. The path of magic is that God form of Lucifer, the angel perfected. The Luciferian spirit is fire above, alive, vigorous, and strong in will and pride. Lucifer ascends in the sun and falls with the darkening of the moon. This is the path of magic itself, as above, so below. Now, again, strong connotations with that word, Lucifer, Luciferian. I think what I said at the beginning of this video has to be applied here. Doesn't really matter whether this being exists or doesn't. It's been created. It is an egregore. It is a thought form, and it apparently takes on the characteristics for which it has been applied to. Now, I don't know if I want to change that. You see, I've become skilled to a certain degree. And the more skilled I become, the more I'm saying, hey, wait a minute. If I was Lucifer, I'd have God in court for slander, defamation of character. I'd be expecting the jury to award me a big, big shitload of money, or whatever you do in the afterlife. Because in my humble opinion, Lucifer, again, taking the construct of the Matrix, has gotten a bad rap. across the board. It says the Luciferian model is presented strongly in this book, as this is a gateway or key to the mind expanding and developing. No longer shall the horrid sickness of Christianity be brought down in the goetic work. No longer shall the weak of mind approach this tome without duress. The walls are torn down, yet they are at the same time built higher than they've ever have been before. The goetic sorcery should in itself be the grammar and foundation for the art of magic, which is to ascend in the light and warmth of the sun. In order to fully understand and perceive the self and the light within, one must explore the demonic and infernal realms. They often bring swift success and metrotronic fall into flame. Instead of the self within igniting the exterior being brings fire, and to the self destroying it. Be the flame that is the torch of magical art. What a good way to just close it out. Oh, we ain't done with it. Because we're going to get into the names. Got to know who the characters are. I mean, it's like going to baseball. If you don't have what the roster is, who's playing what position, the game's not going to make any sense to you. So we'll definitely. So thank all of you. Appreciate that you sit in here. Like I said, this is not everybody's cup of tea, and you can see why. They're so fear-minded. I've had people write me and say, Wayne, how can you just give up your soul like you've done? I said, I haven't given up anything. Huh? Oh, you've chosen a different path. No, I've chosen a path. It's never been a different path. It's been the path of my life. No matter what I was to do, this is where I'm supposed to be. And looking back with regret in one side or another is a fool's paradise. I like the path I'm on. Again, I haven't met a demon. Haven't met an angel. I mean, well, I can say it, angel face to face. Seen them. I've never seen Lucifer harm me. Satan. Well, see, I know Satan doesn't exist. So, there could be this thing that would appear before me, and I'd go, it's a mirage. Until it starts talking. So, but again, and I've studied this for well over a decade and a half. I can't find anything where Lucifer ever harmed a human being. He told the jackass that supposedly created all this thing, the angry, the vengeful God, the jealous one, basically he said, you're fired. You're fucked up in the head, man. And I can dig it. Well, I mean, once you see what's really going on, he'd have done what I'd have done. I'd have left. But no, that jealous, vengeful thing couldn't just let things go. Think about it. This so-called God had every opportunity to go on its merry way and just leave everything else behind. But no, it was the one who pursued the cat that says, hey, wait a minute. This is messed up, man. I mean, you can't have a revolt or a strike if everything is fine. But management didn't want to hear it. Management's attitude was, hey, we're in the ivory tower, not you. Story goes on and on and on. But there we go. Joyce, what'd you say, dear? Only philosophers see fear's existence. Is the opposite of multitudes. I don't know. I consider myself a philosopher. It's like, I mean, fear is what I create fear to be. I would suggest if you have a fear of that, then face those what the minds of Hollywood have created as demons. I mean, seriously, again, I keep saying this. If you were a demon, you'd have pride about yourself. And I mean, if they found that females are really attractive, I mean, it would be an insult to come in that form. I'd see him coming in really, looking good. Lilith was quite beautiful. Anyway, Nina says, go to her show on Sunday. Go over there to the non-religious truth channel. F. Kitty reminds me of the door-to-door soul salesman that asked me if I want to have a new government, a perfect government, God's Exactly. That's my point. Thank you, Miss Kitty. I appreciate that. That is far out. Oh, EA Cutting's going to be on. Fantastic. Well, let him know, Nina. I really want to get him on this end. I love that. Idiom of a thought. Um, it's on my Mystic channel. Okay. All right. Well, sometimes I get, have to see the sign. What did the teleprompter say? Anyway. Have y'all selves a great weekend. Enjoy it. And hey, we'll meet back here on Monday, picking this right back up. Okay, I see that, Nina. Okay, if the devil tortures the evil in hell, seems more like he works for the God. Exactly, Lucky. Exactly. It's an inside job. It's the Costernata. It's the mafia. It's a crime family. It's a crime syndicate. They're all in it. I like that adult cartoon series on Prime. Which one was that? Has Been Hotel. Yeah, Hazbin has been. Where Lilith tells God, uh, "Listen, dude, I was a kingdom of just me. You're the one that made me as powerful as I am. You keep sending me your people." Yeah. It just depends on their perspective. And listen, if you really think about that, I told this to some person. I said, your description of heaven would be my hell. I want no part of it. Well, I couldn't figure that out. How could you say that? Easily. I looked at you. All right. So there we go, buddy. Everybody. Gaia, much love to you. Mary wins. Love you, darling. Mystery, right. Good to see you, Joyce, and thank you, Rick, everybody. See you back on Monday, and thank you again. I find this stimulating. Let me know what you think.